Hey guys, tonight we journey into something different. You begin not with breath, but with the absence of it, light enough to float, yet heavy with the hush of all the things you never said. Around you, the world is soft and silver. Mist coils through tall birch trees like patient ghosts. The leaves whisper in languages older than your body, and the air tastes like snow waiting to fall. You stand on a riverbank. Not quite earth, not quite sky. A borderland. And on the other side, just barely visible through the gauzy fog, the faint outline of old wooden houses. Their roofs sag under the weight of memories. Lamps flicker with a pale green light. Lanterns of the soul, some say. You've heard stories about these places before. Places the dead pass through on their way to remembering. Of course, you're not dead. Probably. Then again, your shoes aren't wet despite the dew. Your breath makes no cloud in the air. And there's no sound except for the wind breathing through birch leaves, like pages being turned by invisible fingers. You blink. The ground shimmers. Birch trees lean toward you as if curious. You probably wouldn't survive this if you were alive. But here you are. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're watching from and what time of night it is. I love seeing the map of dreamers unfold. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You take a step forward and the land responds. The path under your feet glows faintly with each footfall, as though the earth is remembering you. The river hums beside you. Low, ancient, almost like a lullaby sung in Ukrainian, or maybe Russian. The two dialects blur together here, like the souls they carry. Some traditions suggest this river has no name. Others call it Vidlyak, meaning the echo flow. It's said to appear only after war, when too many spirits linger. You begin to walk along its bank, your fingertips grazing the tall feather grass. It feels like stroking the memory of someone you used to know. Soon, you come upon a grove of birch trees leaning tightly together, forming a kind of archway. They curve with a strange symmetry, as if grown. Welcome to my channel, Frontistery. If you like, please share and like this video. Thank you very much. The soul lantern bobs gently in the dark, as if tethered to the breeze and not to any hook or branch. You follow it, though the path beneath your feet has dissolved entirely. There is only shadow now, soft and thick like felt. Still, your feet know where to land. You float forward more than walk, as if the memory of footsteps is enough to guide you. Soon the forest thins, the mist lightens, and through the silence, a sound begins. Distant, metallic, rhythmic. Chka, chka, chka. You recognize it even before you truly hear it. The thudding wheels, the groaning steel. A train. But one that's not quite there. You emerge into an open expanse of land, flat and endless, like a frozen sea of ash and silence. The air smells faintly of coal, though no fires burn. The sky above is violet gray, just light enough to show the outline of a rail line stretching out into the mist. And there it is, the train. Black as shadow, edges flickering like an oil painting left in the rain. It moves slowly, but with purpose. No smoke, no passengers you can see, just empty cars rattling through a war that no longer exists. The spirit train of Donbass. Some call it Pokutny Poyizd, the train of penance. A superstition born from the miners and soldiers who died in those lands. whispering through generations. They say when the earth swallowed too much sorrow and the mouths of the dead had no one left to speak to, the train began to run. Not on tracks of iron, but memory. Not powered by coal, but regret. You step closer. It doesn't blow a whistle, but your ears ring. As it rolls past, you glimpse something impossible. In each window, a flicker of a face, not always human. Sometimes, just eyes. Sometimes only the posture of grief. A hunched back, a bowed head, a hand clenched in longing. One car passes you, slower than the rest, and the window is open. Inside, a girl. Not more than 10. She doesn't look at you, but her lips move. You read them. We are still riding. Then she vanishes. The train continues. But something lingers where she sat. A scent. Like warm tea and gunpowder. You know that smell. From some other life. A kitchen that never reopened. A letter that was never mailed. You watch until the train disappears into the gray. And then the sound stops, as if someone flipped the world to mute. You are alone again, but not for long. A man approaches, walking with a limp, dressed in a tattered officer's coat. One half Ukrainian blue, the other Russian green. His face is unreadable, but his hands tremble with tenderness. He doesn't speak, just gestures. You follow. He leads you to a spot in the ground where a single rusted spike juts up from the earth. What's left of a rail that once connected more than cities. He kneels, begins to dig with bare hands. You join him. Together, you pull something up. A suitcase. Old. Leather. The color of dried blood. You open it. Inside, letters. Hundreds. All addressed to no one. All signed in ghostly ink with names long forgotten. You lift one. It burns gently in your hand. Warm, not painful. You unfold it. I did not mean to shoot him. I only wanted to go home. You fold it back, place it down, try another. Tell Mama I saw her face in the clouds before I fell. Another. He called me brother, even after the knife. The man doesn't cry, but his hands clench around the last letter like it's the only thing keeping him from fading. And then he speaks. They write these because the train only carries what hasn't been forgiven. His voice is heavy with centuries. Some traditions believe the dead must speak their regret before the soul can ascend. But here, he gestures to the wasteland. There's no one left to hear. You sit down beside the suitcase. The letters whisper like autumn leaves. In Eastern Orthodox customs, there's a belief that a soul wanders for 40 days after death, visiting the places and people it loved. But what happens when the places are gone? When the people are dust? What if the soul circles endlessly? Not to say goodbye, but to wait for permission to leave? Some scholars suggest the spirit trains began appearing in dreams during the late 20th century, shared among strangers. Entire communities claiming to hear whistles in their sleep. Skeptics blame trauma. Believers say trauma is a portal. The man removes one final item from the case, a harmonica. He plays it. The notes are broken, like a song someone forgot halfway through. But something responds. A second harmonica, faint and distant, plays back. You both freeze. The man smiles, barely. They're still out there, he says. Some of them. And then, as if the sound itself carried him away, the man dissolves into light. Not in a burst, but in slow drips, like candle wax melting upward. You remain. The harmonica lies in your lap, still warm. The rail spike glows faintly now, like a needle threading the world of the living to the waiting. You rise. The mist begins to creep back in. Behind you, the suitcase is gone, but you still feel the weight of those letters inside you, tucked under your ribs. You continue walking. A new sound. Not train wheels. Footsteps. Soft and careful, as if someone is trying not to wake a memory. You follow them. And in the distance, where the birch trees grow sparse again, a new path reveals itself. Lined not with stone, not with wood, but bones. Stacked respectfully, carefully. A walkway of those who were once the walking. You step onto it. You do not sink. And with every step, you feel something changing inside you. As though each name you never knew is becoming part of your own. The path of bones does not creak beneath you. It hums. Softly. Mournfully. As if each rib, each vertebra, each delicate finger bone remembers something too sacred to be spoken in full volume. You tread carefully, not out of fear, but reverence. The ground here isn't made of death. It's made of unfinished life. You move through what once might have been a village, but nothing remains. No houses, no fences, not even ruins. Just small, uneven mounds beneath the mist, like breaths held eternally just below the surface. Then you see it. The cemetery. Or at least what was once a cemetery. No headstones. No markers, just rows of shallow depressions in the earth, each the size of a person lying down with their hands folded. And around them, a silence so absolute it makes your heart beat louder. You pause beside one. There's a dent where a name might have been, a faded impression of a cross, but nothing else. You kneel, running your fingers through the dry grass. It parts easily, and beneath it something glints, a shard of mirror. You lift it. It doesn't reflect your face, only your outline, your presence. And faintly, behind you, another shape. Standing. Watching. You turn, but no one is there. Still, the shape lingers in the mirror. The nameless often leave traces in reflection, some traditions suggest. Mirrors remember what the world forgets. In this forgotten cemetery, you find more of them. Fragments tucked into the ground like offerings. Each one showing glimpses. An eye, a pair of boots, a child's drawing scrawled in soot on a window pane. They were here. They are here. But no one knows their names. The Soviets erased many cemeteries in the 20th century during territorial reforms and political cleansing, bulldozing entire villages, maps redrawn, generations silenced. But the souls? Souls have no borders. You continue walking, and the wind begins to sing, not loudly, just a single voice stretched across the land like smoke. It sings in neither Russian nor Ukrainian, but something older. A lullaby woven from root words, from throat sounds and syllables born of soil and night. You don't understand the lyrics, but your soul does. You follow the sound through the mist, and as you do, tiny lights begin to glow from the ground. Soft, greenish, like fireflies too tired to rise. Each one hovers over a grave. You understand now. These are the unmarked resting places. No one visits them. No one knows them. Except you. And the voice. You crest a small hill. At the top is a stone, not carved, just placed. With care. Beside it, a woman sits. Her hair is long and gray, braided with strips of cloth. Her eyes are closed, but her hands move rhythmically, twisting thread, knotting it around a small wooden circle. A memory wheel. You've heard of them. A folk craft in the villages near the Dnieper River. Small hoops wrapped in thread and grief, made by those who lost someone with no body to bury. The belief was, if you make a wheel and leave it where they last lived, their soul will find it and rest there. The woman opens her eyes as you approach. Too many were never named, she says, her voice like old honey. So I name them with thread. She hands you a wheel. It's unfinished. Finish it. You hesitate, then begin. Each knot you tie feels like pulling a soul upward. Not to life, not to heaven, but into memory. When you finish, the wheel hums softly. She takes it, hangs it from a crooked birch branch nearby, and all at once, the graves below shimmer. Names flicker into view, not in stone, but in light. Masha, Alexei, Bohdan, Irina, Dmitro, Zoya, Lev. Some are full names. Some are nicknames whispered in laughter. Some are nothing but pet names shouted across snowy yards. But they are names. And for a moment, the land feels lighter. I don't know if they were soldiers or children, you whisper. The woman nods. Does it matter? They were loved. The mainstream world often separates death into categories: civilian, combatant, martyr, criminal. But the spirit world doesn't seem to care about those lines. Some scholars even argue that labels of the living become barriers for the dead, preventing remembrance from being universal. The woman gathers her wheels. She begins to fade. Will they stay lit? You ask. Only as long as someone remembers to wonder who they were. And then she's gone. But the lights remain. For now, you leave the hill. As you walk, the mist thickens again. But this time, it's different. Warmer. Inside it, shapes begin to form. Children. Dozens of them. Running, laughing, chasing one another through the veil of fog. They don't see you. Or maybe they do, but they're not afraid. One stops, looks at you. Want to play? He asks, holding out a ball made of bundled newspaper. You reach for it, but when your fingers brush it, the ball bursts into petals, pages from a book torn long ago. Each page holds a face, and then the boy is gone. The children vanish into the fog, but the laughter remains, echoing behind your ribs like bells. In some fringe beliefs of the northern Carpathians, it's said that children who die in war are allowed to play for eternity in a realm made of half-light. A place where bullets become butterflies and tanks melt into playgrounds. Some say the living can visit briefly, only if they walk the road of forgotten names with an open heart. You turn one last time toward the cemetery. The lights still flicker, but now they pulse gently, in rhythm. As if the earth itself has begun to breathe again, you keep walking. A sound in the distance. Chimes, soft and metallic, like wind catching on prayer bells. Ahead, the mist begins to thin, and a thread, red and glowing, hangs in the air before you. Thin as a hair, stretching forward like a path. You reach out and let it wrap around your finger. The red thread tightens gently around your finger, snug but not painful. It pulses once, warm, and then begins to tug forward. You follow, your steps lighter now, the air thinner. The mist around you lifts like a curtain, revealing a descent. A gentle slope paved with stones slick with dew and history. The thread guides you into darkness, but not absence. No, this is the rich dark, the kind that comes with candles, with incense, with secrets. Beneath your feet, the stones grow older. Each one bears a carving, a name, a date, a symbol, A sun, a star, a weeping eye. Some are too worn to read, like memories rubbed thin by the centuries. You are entering the catacombs of Kiev. Not the real ones, those carved by monks beneath the lavra. These are older, deeper, the ones you only find in dreams or at the edge of a soul's last question. The red thread leads you through archways so low you must bow your head. The walls breathe cold and wet, and from deep within you hear chanting. Not ominous, soft, steady. A language so old it vibrates through your spine rather than your ears. The catacombs glow faintly now. Not from torches, but from the walls themselves. A soft bioluminescence, as though the very air remembers being loved once. You come to a chamber. At its center, a loom, ancient, carved from dark wood and ivory bone. Threads hang from it, tangled, shimmering in red, gold, and black. And sitting beside it is a monk, or something that once was. His face is shadowed by a deep hood. His hands are skeletal but swift. They move across the loom in a rhythm both chaotic and precise. You realize he's weaving the thread you're holding, and not just yours. Threads stretch out from him in every direction, into the walls, into the ceiling, through the earth. Billions, each one tied to a soul. He does not look up, but you hear his voice in your chest. You followed it. You nod. It remembers everything, he says, even when you do not. He pulls on one thread. A memory flickers behind your eyes. You, kneeling beside a fire, whispering your brother's name into the smoke. He pulls another. You, in a soldier's coat, weeping over a letter too soaked in blood to read. You gasp. You've worn many names, the monk says. But the thread remembers the soul, not the mask. He gestures to the loom. This is the red thread of Kiev. A folk belief once whispered in secret, that a single thread ties each soul to its ancestors, weaving through lifetimes, through pain and joy, through war and peace. Some say it grows brighter with love. Others say it only reveals itself when you're ready to forgive yourself. You ask what happens if the thread is cut. He stops weaving. The chamber stills. He turns toward you. If you cut the thread, you forget everything, even the reason you ever wanted to remember. And then, slowly, he resumes. You step closer. One of the threads pulses, not yours, someone else's. You touch it. Suddenly, you're inside another life, a woman's. Your hands are chapped. Your belly is round with life. You're hiding in a cellar while bombs fall above. A child cries in your arms, and you press your lips to her forehead and whisper, "Just a little longer, moja zvezdochka." And then, back. The thread glows faintly, still vibrating with that love. She lived, the monk says. You did not. You blink. She was me? Part of you, he replies. You kneel before the loom. What do I do with all of it, you ask? The war outside is just a reflection, he says gently. The true war is whether your spirit chooses to remember or to remain numb. He places a spool of red thread in your palm. Follow it upward, he says. There's more waiting. He fades into the dark. And the loom begins to unravel behind you, threads curling back into the walls like retreating vines. You rise. The red thread tightens again, gently pulling you forward. As you walk, the path changes. No longer stone, Now it's tapestry, woven from countless colors, stories beneath your feet. With each step, images bloom. A soldier embracing his mother, a peasant bearing bread in the snow for strangers, lovers dancing in a ruined church. You pass beneath a stone arch. Carved into its surface is the trident of Ukraine, Trizub, intertwined with a double-headed eagle, the symbol of old Russia. They do not fight here. They simply exist, side by side, like fossils buried in the same sediment. Some scholars debate whether such images ever truly existed together in any shared history. But here, in this soul space, truth isn't history. It's what the spirit remembers when no one is watching. You come to the surface again, a courtyard, overgrown, cracked, wild with vines. At its center, a statue of a woman, head bowed, eyes closed. In her hands, a severed thread. You approach, and her eyes open, slowly. They are your eyes. She smiles, faintly. You came back, she says. You realize she is the version of you who once gave up. And yet here she stands, whole again. I thought no one would ever remember who I was, she says. You reach out, tie the thread in her hands to yours, and for a moment, your souls merge. One heartbeat, one sorrow, one red line drawn across time like a whisper. The statue becomes light. The courtyard dissolves, and the thread pulls once more into a tunnel of stars. The stars do not twinkle, they hover, still and reverent, as if each one is holding its breath for your arrival. You float forward, the red thread guiding you like a compass of memory. Its glow softer now, no longer urgent. Around you, the universe folds in gentle ripples, walls of celestial silk that shimmer with what might be time, or perhaps just old stories trying to remember themselves. And then you descend, down through velvet darkness, through a warmth that hums like the echo of a lullaby sung in candlelight. You land softly, on marble, cracked, yes, and moss-covered, but glowing faintly in gold and sapphire veins that pulse beneath the stone like living rivers. You're inside a chapel, or the bones of one. The ceiling arches far above, broken open to the sky. Moonlight pours through, bathing the cracked altar in a white so pure it feels almost wet to the touch. Windows once filled with stained glass now gape with shattered edges, but where the glass has fallen, something even more beautiful has taken its place. Light. Liquid light. It bleeds from the broken panes, cascading down in slow drips. Not rain, not water. Tears. You reach out. Your fingers touch the glowing liquid and your chest tightens. Not in pain, but recognition. Because what you feel isn't water. It's memory turned visible. Regret made gentle. Sorrow made sacred. The chapel that weeps light. Some say it stands just beyond Kharkiv in the Spirit Lands, where a church was bombed mid-sermon, its congregation singing as the world tore itself in half. It's said that no one died in fear, only in song. And so, the chapel stayed behind, not as stone, but as echo, a vessel to hold all the grief that had nowhere else to go. You step forward. The floor creaks beneath you softly like a sigh. Dust rises with each step, forming faint shapes in the air. Hands reaching for candles, lips mouthing hymns. Children drawing invisible pictures on the floor with their fingers. At the altar, there is no crucifix, just a mirror. Tall, narrow, framed in wood scorched black by fire. And in it, you. But not the you of now, the others. You see yourself in a dozen forms, in uniform, in dresses, barefoot, old, laughing, bleeding, praying. Each version meets your gaze, solemn and still. None of them smile. None of them flinch. They just wait. You reach out, and the surface ripples. A face emerges. Yours, but ancient. Not in age, but in knowing. Eyes like black fire. It speaks. You've carried this too long. You whisper, carried what? The mirror self tilts its head. The guilt that wasn't yours. And suddenly the chapel trembles, not with violence, but release. The walls hum. The light tears from the windows shimmer brighter, falling faster. The liquid gathers on the floor, forming pools of shimmering gold. One of them begins to swirl. A vision. A boy, no older than 16, dragging a wounded friend through mud. A bullet hole in his shoulder, blood on his boots, but he's smiling. He doesn't know the shell is coming. The vision changes. A woman kneeling in a church, holding her baby to her chest as the sirens blare. She kisses the child, not in fear, but as if to say, this is not the end. Then another. A man alone in a forest, bearing photographs in a tin box. He whispers names before covering them in soil, as if trying to feed the ground with memory. The chapel is filled with them now. Visions in every pool of light, every shimmer, every corner. They're not showing you war. They're showing you love. Inside war. Because some traditions suggest that places like this are not meant to erase trauma, but to balance it. To remind the soul that even amid collapse, there were still those who chose kindness. You kneel beside the altar, and beneath the mirror, you notice a small object. A lantern. Its flame is weak, fluttering. But inside it glows the same red as your thread. You understand. This is your soul lantern. Flickering because your memories are incomplete. You lift it gently, and as your hands wrap around the warm metal, the glass clears. Inside it, a scene. You, dressed in black, alone at a border checkpoint, handing a photo to a soldier who won't look you in the eye. And the voice in your head, your own, saying, if only I had left sooner. You close your eyes, and you speak to yourself. I forgive you. The lantern glows brighter, and behind you, the chapel sighs. A breeze flows through the broken windows. Petals of glowing glass lift into the air, hovering like fireflies, dancing slowly. They form a spiral, drifting upward toward the night sky. One lands on your shoulder. It hums a single note. You hold the lantern to your chest, and the thread pulses again. Tugging. It's time. But before you leave, you glance back at the mirror. The reflections remain. But now, each version of you is holding a candle. And each one is lit. You pass through the doorless archway, back into the night. But something is different. The stars now twinkle. Just a little. The stars blink softly as you re-enter the night, your lantern warm against your chest like a heartbeat remembering itself. The red thread still curls around your finger, gentle now, as if its urgency has quieted into trust. The air has changed again. Denser, flavored faintly with smoke and something sweeter. Beeswax? Molasses? Old candles lit for souls long past? You walk along a narrow path, half stone, half dirt, winding between crooked fences made of bones and iron scraps. Each post wears a crown of wildflowers, faded, brittle, as though placed by hands that forgot they too were fading. And then you see her, sitting by a crooked gate, a babushka, Not just any grandmother, but the babushka. The one you've heard whispered about in stories told too late at night, with blankets pulled to chins and candles burned down low. Her back is bent like a question mark the world never bothered to answer. Her shawl is wrapped 3 times over, patterned with roses, crosses, and birds mid-flight. Her eyes are closed, but glowing. Not just glowing, burning. 2 small flames flicker behind her lids, never scorching, never smoking. Just watching, through darkness, through time. She opens her eyes, and the flames look at you. "Come," she rasps. "The village is awake." She stands, impossibly tall now, and swings the gate open. It makes no sound, just a hush, like the turning of a page you weren't supposed to read yet. You step through, and time buckles. You're in a village, or something pretending to be. The buildings flicker, half there, half remembered. The roofs slump in on themselves. The windows blink. Some open to empty rooms, some to entire galaxies. But the most striking thing is the candles. They float. Hundreds, maybe thousands, hovering mid-air, suspended as if by breath alone. Each one is a soul light, soft and trembling. Some are tall, some barely embers. Some flicker violently, some burn calm and sure. This, the babushka says, is the waiting place. For what, you ask? For the ones who don't know they're dead. She leads you through the crooked streets, past flickering doorways and wells filled not with water, but voices. You hear songs, whispers, recitations of poetry you never wrote but somehow remember. A little girl runs past you, laughing, chasing a candle that darts just out of reach. Her laugh echoes like wind through reeds. When she turns, her face is yours, from another life. You think her name might have been Sophia. You don't chase her. Not yet. The babushka points to a door with no building behind it, just a frame standing in the middle of the village square. "Go in," she says. You hesitate, then step through, and find yourself in a room filled with clocks. Not ticking, breathing. Each clock inhales and exhales gently. Some wheeze, some hum, some barely flutter. Their hands do not move. Instead, they pulse like veins. In the center, a table. 3 candles sit on it. One is tall, one is almost gone, and one has no flame. "These are yours," the babushka says, though she hasn't entered. Her voice is just here. You ask, why 3? 1 for each time you almost didn't come back. You reach toward the unlit candle. Your hand passes over it, and a spark ignites. The flame is pale blue, cool to the touch. It feels like forgiveness. Some fringe beliefs in Slavic spirit lore hold that when a soul is torn between 3 lives, the one it lived, the one it wanted, and the one it never knew it lost, it can become a triple light, destined to wander until the flames are reconciled. You understand now. Each candle is not a lifetime. It's a truth. You step back through the doorway. The village is darker. More candles have gone out, but others are flaring to life as you pass, souls waking. You turn to ask the babushka what comes next, but she's no longer beside you. She is above you, floating. Her shawl stretches into wings made of moths and letters, pages fluttering open in the air, eyes glowing brighter than fire. She speaks without sound, and yet you hear her. You must choose. A path appears, 3 forks. One is paved in coal, flickering with memory embers. One winds through a forest of sleeping statues, and one leads straight into the sky, vanishing into stars like breadcrumbs scattered for the dead. You step forward, but hesitate. Which one leads home, you ask? She smiles. All of them. And then she dissolves into smoke and candlelight. You choose the path through the forest. The statues sleep, each one a person you once were, or almost were, or feared becoming. One wears a soldier's coat with your name carved on the back. One cradles a violin. One is just a child holding a map with no markings. You touch the shoulder of the child statue, and it exhales, a soft breath, and from its mouth, a moth, golden, trembling. It lands on your wrist. It whispers, "Not every silence is empty." You continue. The candles of the village glow dim behind you, but they remain, waiting for the next wanderer to arrive, waiting for the next question to be answered. The moth clings to your wrist like a whisper with wings. Its body is warm. Its antennae tremble with something like thought. It pulses once, gently, in time with your heartbeat, or perhaps in time with something deeper than that, some rhythm shared by all the lives you've worn like coats through centuries. The forest thickens, not with trees, but with snow. At first, a light dusting, then drifts, soft as wool, gather along the path. You hear nothing but your own breath, slow and steady, clouding the air with warmth. But even that begins to fade. And then, without warning, you hear them. Voices, low, layered, full of cold devotion. They rise like a fog from beneath the ground, humming through the roots and into the air. The forest doesn't echo, it resonates. Every tree vibrates with it. Every snowflake sings along. The choir under the snow. Some say this is where the monks who refused to flee now reside. Not in flesh, but in resonance. They stayed behind when the cold came, when the world above fell silent. Their prayers became snow. Their chants became shelter. You kneel, brushing your hand across the surface of the snow. It feels like cloth, velvet, and beneath it, stone. You dig with careful fingers and uncover a step, then another, then a stairwell, winding downward into the earth like a breath being drawn in. You descend. Each step is lined with frozen candles, unlit but glowing faintly from within. Their flames are trapped, unmoving, preserved, not extinguished. At the bottom, a vast cavern. Ice drips from the ceiling like stalactites of memory. And in the center, the monks. Frozen in place, seated in rows upon rows, backs straight, robes fluttering in some wind that's long since stopped. Their mouths are open, but they do not move. The sound comes from between them, from the space where words used to be. You walk down the aisle of their silence, and the song sharpens, not in volume, but in clarity. Each note begins to align with something inside you. A memory, a face, a smell of bread baking in a war-ravaged kitchen, a burst of laughter between bomb blasts, a prayer you once muttered, not because you believed, but because you were afraid not to. You stop at a particular monk. His face is soft, kind, eyes closed, hands folded. You know him, not by name, not by history, but by feel. You reach toward him, and your hand brushes the air just above his brow. A whisper floods into you. I did not die in faith. I died in doubt. The ice cracks, not in the walls, inside you. A hairline fracture across the memory you'd sealed away. You remember kneeling beside him once, in another life, in a monastery with candlelit walls, your hand clutching a cross, his fingers on your shoulder. You begged for answers. He gave you silence. And now here you are. You bow your head, not in reverence, but recognition. And a strange thing happens. The snow around you rises, not with violence, with rhythm. The monks begin to lift, slowly, like puppets pulled by threads of light. Their song no longer trapped between them, but within them. One by one, their chests glow, lanterns behind ribs, and their voices ring clear at last. A chord unlike any you've heard. Ancient, harmonious, human. You weep. You don't mean to, but the tears fall anyway. Not from grief, from relief. Because here, finally, you hear what war tried to silence. Beauty. Still living. Still singing. Some traditions say snow preserves not just the body, but the intention. That in places where grief was too deep to bury, the snow comes not as erasure, but as pause. A waiting, a soft defiance. And you, yes, you, have unpaused them. The lead monk opens his eyes. They are yours. Or were once. He smiles faintly and speaks. The silence you feared wasn't emptiness. It was memory breathing slowly. Then he bows his head. The monks begin to dim, not vanish, just settle, their voices fading into your bloodstream, like incense curling through a cathedral's rafters. You climb the steps again, out of the cavern. The moth is still with you. It hums a final note and flutters upward, disappearing into the trees. Above, the snow has stopped. The forest is silver, still. And on a branch ahead, someone waits. A figure cloaked in fur and shadow. No face, just presence. They hold a lantern of pure ice. Inside it, a flame shaped like a dove. Wounded, limping in place. The figure nods, and you follow without speaking. You've entered the next phase now. A place beyond remembrance. A place where even echoes pause to listen. The figure leads you deeper into the forest, where the trees lean in close, their trunks etched with markings too fluid to be written, too deliberate to be chance. The lantern of ice swings gently in their gloved hand, casting fragments of light that ripple like dreams half remembered. The wounded dove inside flutters weakly, its wings translucent, trailing threads of fading blue. It doesn't cry. It doesn't look at you. It just limps in circles within its frozen globe. You step carefully. The snow beneath your feet becomes uneven, disturbed by paw prints. Large ones. Dozens. They circle the path, sometimes beside it, sometimes across it. They're not fresh, but they're not old either. The kind of prints left by something that doesn't need to arrive because it never truly left. Wolves. And they are watching. Not from ahead, not from behind, but from memory. Somewhere nearby, a branch cracks. The figure with the lantern stops, then fades, suddenly, completely, like a candle smothered in wind. You are alone. And then you hear the breath. Not yours. Low. Wet. Close. You turn. A wolf steps from the shadows. Not gray, not white. Black. Not as color, but as absence. Its eyes glow silver, not malicious, not angry, just ancient. It walks a slow circle around you, nose to the ground, tail low. You hold still. And then another appears. And another. Soon a full circle surrounds you. Each wolf silent, pacing, eyes full of questions they don't need you to answer. Because these are not wolves of flesh. These are wolves of forgetting. In Slavic folklore, particularly in the borderlands of Ukraine and the Carpathian region, it's said that certain wolves are born not to hunt, but to guard memory. Their task: to protect the soul from knowing too much too quickly, to prevent the flooding, because to remember everything at once is to drown in yourself. One wolf steps forward. It presses its forehead to your chest. And you see a room with too many beds, you hiding under one. Explosions, screams, a nurse shouting your name. Then, gone. Another wolf approaches. Its breath is warm. You see your hands trembling, lighting matches in a cellar, burning a journal, crying as the flame eats your handwriting. Then, gone. The wolves are not taking memories. They are testing them, measuring what you're ready to remember, what you're strong enough to carry, what you're brave enough to keep, and what must wait. The largest wolf approaches last. Its eyes are older than the land. It does not touch you. It simply howls. A sound that does not travel outward, but inward. It echoes inside your ribcage, your spine, your teeth, and when it ends, the world feels thinner, not smaller, just translucent. The wolves look at you. Then, in one silent motion, they vanish. No rustling, no footprints, just absence, curling inward like a breath withheld. You stand alone again, but lighter, as if parts of your soul that had been clenched have finally exhaled. You walk forward deeper into the forest, and soon the trees part. A clearing. In the center, a circle of stones, not arranged, grown. They rise from the ground like fingers, reaching skyward, humming with a deep geological memory. In the middle, a tree, dead, but golden. Its bark cracked like old glass, its limbs twisted, pointing in every direction, as if it once tried to grow into every possible future at once. At its base, bones, human, arranged carefully, not in burial, in witness. You step inside the circle. The tree pulses once, barely, and you remember a conversation. You, younger, or older, or both, sitting beneath this tree with someone you loved, sharing bread, sharing secrets, saying nothing when you should have said everything. The memory is sharp, but peaceful. Not all forgotten things are painful. Some are simply soft. You kneel at the tree's base. The earth is warm, and from within the soil, a light begins to rise. A small flame. Not red, not gold. Gray. Soft and slow. It hovers in front of you, beckoning. You reach out, and it slips into your chest, and you remember something you never even knew you'd lost. A lullaby. One line, sung in a language you don't speak, but your soul does. Spokinoi noci, moje serce. Good night, my heart. Some traditions claim that wolves and trees once spoke to each other in the era before words, before war. That trees held memory and wolves held forgetting, and between them, the soul was balanced like water held between cupped hands. You rise, and the red thread tugs again. You're ready now, ready to remember more, ready to leave this forest. As you walk, you realize your footprints do not remain behind you. The snow fills them instantly. As if the forest already knows, you pass the test, and you no longer need to prove that you were ever here. The forest recedes behind you like the tide, gentle, slow, inevitable. The trees thin, their branches bowing in silence as you pass, as though acknowledging not your presence, but your passage. The red thread at your finger pulses faintly, then stills, guiding you forward without urgency. The world is quieter now, but not empty. Ahead, fog gathers, not the chill mist of morning, but something thicker, warmer, saturated with the scent of dust, oil, and time. You step into it, and sound returns, not melody, but murmur. Low and layered, like 1,000 stories being whispered in unison, none quite loud enough to grasp, all urgent in their own soft way. The fog parts. You arrive at a crossroads. 3 paths stretch before you, each veiled in shifting gray. No signs, no landmarks. Just energy. The left path hums low and deep, like the throb of buried engines. The right path sparkles faintly, occasionally flashing with gold like the glint of metals no longer worn. But the center path, it sings. Barely, just one note. Sustained. Melancholy. And you know that's the one. You walk forward. The path beneath you is cobbled, but the stones shift slightly underfoot. Not crumbling, adjusting. As if the road recognizes your weight, your intention, perhaps even your guilt. The fog thickens, then clears. You are standing in a place with no sky, only reflections, mirrors suspended in air, rippling like cloth. They show no faces, only crossroads, forks, choices. Every mirror reveals a moment where a decision was made. Sometimes you know what you chose, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you don't want to. This is the fog of Kaluga. Some say it lies on the fault line of history itself, where Russian and Ukrainian time overlaps, not in maps or politics, but in soul. A place where choices are weighed not by outcome, but by origin. You walk slowly between the mirrors. Each one shows a version of you. One joining the army, one fleeing through a cornfield, one staying, arms open wide as the tanks rolled through, and one simply closing the door, turning off the radio and whispering, "Not today." The red thread coils tighter, guiding you to a final mirror. Larger, framed in black iron, twisted into knots that pulse like arteries. This one you cannot avoid. You look into it, and you see 3 versions of yourself, all standing at a crossroads, all waiting. The first you is confident, eyes forward, choosing the path of loyalty, family, tradition, the known. The second you is restless, choosing the unfamiliar road, descent, exile, transformation. The third you kneels between them, head bowed, paralyzed. You feel the thread pulse, and the mirror breathes. A voice, not yours, fills the air. Choice is the wound of the soul. You whisper back, "I didn't know what was right." The fog answers, "Neither did they." Some scholars debate whether such spiritual crossroads actually exist, whether the soul re-encounters moments of great choice during the afterlife as part of its processing. Others suggest the crossroads is metaphorical, simply a reflection of unresolved identity. But standing here, it doesn't feel metaphorical. It feels like standing in the center of your own war. You close your eyes and step forward, into the mirror. For a moment, nothing. Then a battlefield, but not of blood and death, of memory. 3 paths again, laid out in luminous sand. You walk each one, briefly. You hear voices, laughter, screaming, singing, silence. Each path leads back to the same center, the place where you are always waiting. And finally, you understand. The crossroads never ask you to choose once. They ask you to choose again, and again and again, until your soul aligns with itself. You kneel in the center. The sand swirls, forms a spiral. The mirrors shatter, not in sound, but in silence, and where they fall, tiny golden seeds remain. You pick one up, plant it. A tree begins to grow instantly, a small one, but strong. You leave it behind. You are not supposed to stay here. No one is. The fog thins, and beyond it, sky returns, a quiet sky. The red thread tugs. You follow. Your heart is heavy now, but the weight feels right. Not grief, not guilt, but root. Something within you has settled. The road ahead curves, and from just beyond the bend, you hear something soft. Not a voice, not music. Bells, high, distant, swinging in wind you do not feel. You round the corner, and there they are. Bells, hundreds, hanging in midair over a ruined city square. Mariupol, but not as it was, as it remembers itself. The buildings are whole, but empty. The doors hang open, not broken. The bells sway in no breeze, ringing for no one. Or maybe for you. Some say these are the sky bells of Mariupol, hung by the souls who died with questions in their mouths. Every chime is a thought unfinished, a prayer interrupted, a name never spoken aloud. And tonight, they sing for you. You step into the square and listen. The bells sing like rain in reverse, falling upward into the sky. Their sound is weightless, transparent, laced with longing. Each note lands somewhere soft in your chest, like a memory you didn't know was yours, echoing back from some invisible cathedral. You walk slowly into the square, your feet brushing against cracked tiles that have somehow arranged themselves into patterns. Spirals, circles, a language older than speech, older than war. The city of Mariupol surrounds you in a hush. Whole, but not alive. Intact, but not occupied. The bells hang above it all, suspended by nothing, each one with its own shape. Some are grand, rusted bronze with etchings of saints and sunflowers. Others are small, teacup-sized, delicate, cracked. And they ring, not in unison, but like a question being asked from every angle at once. You look up, and the sky answers. For just a moment, it opens, not like a curtain, but like a wound, and you see faces. Only for a second. Hundreds, maybe thousands. Eyes wet, mouths parted, as if they were caught mid-thought, mid-song, mid-scream. Then they vanish, gone back to wherever the bells keep their echoes. You sit down at the edge of a dry fountain and listen. One bell begins to ring louder than the others. You follow the sound. It leads you to a balcony, halfway crumbled, vines growing through the railing. And hanging from it, a single bell, its clapper missing. Still, it rings. Some traditions say the dead can ring bells with memory alone. That grief, when distilled into pure longing, becomes enough to move metal. You touch the bell. It hums beneath your palm and shows you something. A woman, maybe 40, standing in the same spot, holding a letter in trembling hands, reading it aloud. The letter is not in any language you recognize, but your soul understands every word. It is a farewell, written not to a lover, but to the self she used to be. She finishes the letter, kisses it, drops it from the balcony, and walks inside, never to return. You pull your hand back, and the bell stops ringing. Not abruptly. It rests. You descend into the square again. The red thread tugs faintly, but you resist it. Just for a moment. You need this. To stay here a little longer. To witness. You notice now, each bell has a name inscribed at its base, but not full names, just pieces. A first name, a nickname, a letter, Anya, V, Sasha, Papa, me. Some bells spin slowly, others are perfectly still. You begin to hum, not a song you know, one the square seems to draw out of you. It starts low, simple, but grows. The bells respond, ringing in harmony. For a moment, the entire square becomes a song. Not sad, not joyous, just present. And then, a door opens. Not in a building, in the air. It swings open with no frame, revealing only light behind it, not blinding, inviting. From it steps a boy, maybe 8 years old, clutching a stuffed bear in a notebook. He walks toward you. His shoes make no sound. You kneel. He hands you the notebook. You open it. Inside, a single page, drawn in crayon. You recognize the scene instantly. The bells, the balcony, the fountain, you. And the boy has written one sentence in blocky, uneven script. Thank you for hearing us. You look up, but he's gone. Only the notebook remains. You hold it to your chest and stand. The bells begin to fall silent. Not from absence, from peace. The red thread pulses again. It's time. You walk to the edge of the square, and for the first time you hear footsteps behind you. You turn and see dozens, no, hundreds of souls. Some dressed in military coats, some barefoot, some children, some old. All watching, not waiting, not haunting, witnessing you. Some traditions believe that when the living finally listen, not with their ears but with their soul, a part of the dead can finally move forward. You bow your head. The bells shimmer once more. Then still, the city dims and becomes quiet, but not empty. Never empty. The thread pulls you forward, and the ground changes beneath your feet. Stone becomes salt. A gleaming path stretches out ahead, white, crystalline, jagged. You are walking into the deep earth now, into the mines, not for treasure, for something harder to find. Letters. Salt crunches beneath your feet like broken glass made from forgotten tears. The air is dry now, heavy with a stillness that feels almost sacred, like the breath held between the end of a prayer and the beginning of whatever comes next. You walk deeper into the cavern, where the walls shimmer in quiet rebellion against the dark. Not with fire, not with light, with memory. Salt remembers everything. It stores it, preserves it, holds onto the voice of whoever last wept near it. The red thread at your finger seems almost invisible here, absorbed into the crystalline glow of the mine. You turn a corner, and the silence shifts. Not breaks, shifts. A whisper begins to rise, not from the air, but from the walls themselves. You run your palm along one. It's rough and cool, dusted with salt. As your skin touches it, a spark flares behind your eyes. And you see it, a miner, scribbling onto parchment in near darkness, his hands trembling. His lips move silently as he folds the letter, kisses the corner, and seals it in wax made from tallow and ash. You blink. The vision fades, but the whisper remains. You follow it. And it leads you into a chamber carved not by tools, but by hands. gentle hands, desperate hands. On every surface, walls, ceiling, floor, letters are pressed into the salt, folded, tucked, embedded, some in envelopes, some in cloth pouches, some carved directly into the walls with fingernails or bones. Letters buried in salt. You begin to read, not aloud, just by standing close enough. Mama, it is cold, but I sing still. I hope the birds do not forget me. I forgive you, even if you never came. If I do not return, please do not carry my silence like a coffin. You kneel by one that glows faintly. It's wrapped in fabric, the corner of a uniform. You pull it free. Inside, a child's drawing, a house, a sun, a stick figure man holding a balloon shaped like a heart. And on the back, Papa, I left you this so you'd remember what happy felt like. Your throat tightens. The letter turns to salt in your hands, crumbling into dust that melts on your skin. This is what the spirit world protects, not just the people who died, but the words they didn't get to send. Some fringe beliefs from the Donetsk region say salt mines are portals not because of their depth, but because of their silence. That the stillness creates space for memory to echo. And in that echo, the soul can whisper until someone hears. You move carefully through the chamber. Each letter speaks to a different part of you. Some are angry, some grateful, some confused. One simply reads, "We didn't want to hate anyone. We just forgot how to love." You sit down. The salt forms a seat beneath you, shaped not by design, but intention. And for the first time, you write. Not with a pen, with your fingertip, onto the wall beside you. Your message is short. I remember now. You press your palm to it, and it glows. The chamber responds. Letters rustle softly. Some flutter loose from their hiding places, drifting like paper snow. They form a spiral in the air, then settle and vanish. Released, you stand, not because you're ready, but because you know you must. The red thread pulses again. It leads you to a narrow tunnel. At its mouth, a sign carved in salt reads simply, "No voices beyond this point, eh?" You step through. The silence is absolute, not empty, sacred. The kind of silence that births stars, the kind where memory becomes presence. You walk in it for a long time, or maybe a short time. Time bends here like light through water. And then, a glow. Warm, amber. Ahead, a small room. Its walls are wood, not salt. Its ceiling low. And in the center, a bar. Dusty, empty, real. You step inside. A tavern, but not for the living. No bartender, no patrons. Just a row of glasses, each half filled with liquid that shimmers faintly in the candlelight. You sit on a stool, and your glass slides toward you. No hand pushes it, but it arrives just the same. You raise it and drink. It tastes like bread baking in wartime, cold metal against your lips. A child's laughter echoing in an empty stairwell. It tastes like remembering. A bell rings, soft, and one by one, they arrive. The dead, not as ghosts, not as shadows, as presents. They take their seats, they raise their glasses, and they nod, not at you, with you. Some sip, some weep. Some just hold the glass and let it catch the candlelight like a story too beautiful to retell. One turns to you, an old man, face lined with soot and salt. "You came far," he says. You nod. He clinks his glass to yours. "To the ones who listened." You drink. And the room warms, flickers, begins to fade. You are not sad. You are not frightened. You are full. The red thread tugs, soft as a breath against your skin. Time to go. The tavern dissolves into lantern light, and you rise from the salt. Into silence once again. Silence carries you upward, not like a wind, but like a memory remembering itself. You rise through layers of salt and breath and vanished time. Your feet not walking, but simply moving because the soul must move, even in stillness. The air becomes warmer, tinged with the scent of bread crusts, brass polish, and old smoke. The lingering aromas of places that have not existed in decades, but which remain stubbornly vivid in the spirit's tongue. And then you're there, standing outside a tavern that shouldn't exist. The sign hangs crookedly from a chain too thin to hold it. It reads, "Vodka for the vanished." You smile despite yourself. The red thread curls loosely now, trailing behind you like a ribbon left in a river. Inside, the place glows. Low lamps. Tables worn soft by elbows and time. Chairs that creak in anticipation. No shadows. Just light softened by dust and memory. The bar is manned, but not by someone alive, nor someone dead, by someone between. He has no face, just the shimmer of one, features shifting like light on the bottom of a pool. His apron is clean. His hands are precise. He nods once as you enter and gestures to the stool nearest the bar. You sit. A glass is placed in front of you. Clear liquid. You don't need to ask. Vodka, of course. But this isn't for drinking. Not yet. The bartender holds out a small square of paper. You unfold it. It's blank. Then ink rises from it, slowly, like mist becoming form. Words form one by one in your own handwriting. "I'm sorry for surviving." You stare. The bartender nods. You sip the vodka. It burns, but not with fire, with memory. Instantly, the room changes. You are surrounded. Not by ghosts, by versions of you. All seated at different tables. Each one holds a drink. Each one is mid-conversation with someone who isn't there. You walk among them. One version is laughing, telling a story with wild hands and eyes full of life. Across from him, an empty chair. Another sits still, cradling a glass like a candle, lips moving in apology. Another version of you dances alone, humming something old, something lullaby soft. And then, one table is different. No mirror of you there, just a woman. Young, hair braided, cheeks ruddy. She looks up and smiles. Not with her mouth, with her whole being. You don't know her, and yet, you do. She pats the chair across from her. You sit. She pushes a photograph across the table, black and white, grainy. You in uniform, her beside you, a baby between you. The name of the child, blurred. "Is this real, Asasi?" you ask. She smiles, shrugs gently. Some traditions suggest the soul has more than one life. Others say we simply echo in many forms. You reach for the photo, but it burns away as you touch it. She fades too. Not with sorrow, with completion. Some beliefs from post-Soviet spiritual folklore say there are taverns in the afterlife where the dead go not to forget, but to rehearse. To revisit stories not finished, to offer the living their lines. You stand again. Back at the bar, your original drink is untouched. Still full. You raise it now. A toast. To the ones who stayed behind. The bartender raises his glass in silent reply, then taps the bar once. The room dims. A piano begins to play, soft, hesitant, one note at a time, like someone remembering how. You follow the music through a door that wasn't there before. And now, you're not in the tavern. You're in a hall. Long, empty. Wooden floors creak under each step. Walls lined with photographs, all slightly crooked. You stop at one. Your face, young. A boy. Holding a violin. Eyes full of questions no one had the time to answer. Another photo. You in a field, planting something with calloused hands and dirt under your nails. You've never lived these moments. But they're yours. Somehow. You walk the hall slowly, the photographs changing as you pass, showing not history but possibility. The lives you didn't live, the choices you didn't make. Not as punishment, as acknowledgement. Then a door, carved with symbols you recognize only because your bones remember them. You open it. Darkness, but warm. And in the center, a fire, not of wood, of memory. You sit by it, not because you're tired, because there is nothing else to do. Flames flicker, and each spark rises with a whisper. I forgave you. I waited. I never blamed you. You watch until the fire burns blue, then silver, then vanishes, and you're left with only the quiet and the heartbeat of the red thread still pulsing gently against your skin. You rise. The next room is already waiting. And the war, it's closer now, but not as violence, as repetition. You step forward and begin to understand why some souls replay it. You step through the threshold, and immediately, boom. Not a sound, a feeling, like a shockwave made of memory. A low, relentless tremor that moves through your marrow. The ground beneath you isn't stable, it pulses in loops. You try to find your balance, but the world keeps starting over, and over, and over. You've entered the battlefield, but not as you knew it. Not with bullets or blood, with echoes, endless recursive echoes. This is the war that fought itself. The landscape is a smear of past and future. Trenches folding into forests, folding into alleyways, folding into mothers' kitchens where the soup still boils beside broken windows. You stand on a ridge that was once a street. Beneath you, the ghosts of soldiers move in strange symmetry. Ducking, firing, falling, rising again. Their movements are not chaotic, they're rehearsed, like dancers, like puppets, like memories trying to unwrite themselves. You take one cautious step forward, and the war responds. Not with hostility, with attention. A man in tattered uniform turns to look at you. Half his face is ash. The other half is light. He doesn't speak, just tilts his head, as if asking, do you understand yet? You don't. Not fully, not yet. He lifts a rifle, points it, not at you, but the sky. Fires. A bird falls, but when it hits the ground, it becomes a child. The child stands, dusts herself off, and walks away. The war replays itself. Again, the man lifts his rifle. Again, the bird falls. Again, the child rises. Again, you step backward, shaken. And suddenly you are no longer watching. You are inside it. A uniform on your back. A weight in your hand. A name shouted from across the chaos. Your name or a name you once wore. You run, you hide, you hold someone as they bleed light from their chest, and they look at you not with pain but with apology. Then, it resets. You're back on the ridge, watching again. Frozen. You whisper, "Why?" And the world answers, not in words, in repetition. Some fringe mystics in Eastern Europe believe that battlefields, if soaked with enough anguish, become soul mirrors. They trap not just the dead, but the moment of decision, and force it to repeat until the energy is transformed or witnessed. You walk among the echoes, each step a decade, each breath a treaty signed and broken. You see children playing war with sticks. Then later, those same children, helmets too large, eyes too old, dying in fields their mothers once harvested. A loop within a loop. You reach a doorway standing alone. No walls. Just a doorframe and a knob crusted with blood and wax. You turn it. And inside, a classroom. Chalkboards cracked. Desks overturned. A map of the world with parts of it burned away. At the front of the room, a teacher writing the same word over and over in Cyrillic. You can't read it at first. Then you do. Why, just that. No question mark. Because it's not a question. It's an inventory. You step back. Outside again. The sky above flickers. Sometimes night. Sometimes fire. Sometimes stars. Real stars. As if heaven itself keeps trying to peek in. You lie down just for a moment, and the ground holds you. Soft. Ash-covered. Warm in the way things are warm just before they disappear. And above you, the silhouettes of the soldiers begin to rise. Not marching. Floating. Each one glowing faintly with a light you recognize. Recognition. They see you. They know that you know now. That the war does not end by winning. It ends by witnessing. You whisper again. I see you. And the battlefield begins to dissolve. First the soldiers, then the guns, then the ground. Until only the light remains. It folds inward, becomes a corridor. And at the far end, a child. You recognize her. The same one who fell as a bird. She smiles now, reaches into her chest, and removes something. A mirror. Small, round, cracked. She holds it out to you. You take it, look into it, and see a heart. Not bleeding, not broken, just watching. Some scholars still debate whether the spirit returns to its greatest wound in the afterlife or to its greatest act of forgiveness. But here now they seem to be the same. The girl vanishes, and you are alone again. But this time, lighter, like something heavy has been passed to the earth itself. The red thread stirs again, and the air shifts. Something colder, something brighter, and the snow begins to fall. But not ordinary snow. Flakes of ash, flakes of memory. Each one carries the sound of your name. You close your eyes and listen. Snow, soft and soundless, melts as it lands on your skin. Not cold, not wet, but familiar. Like fingertips brushing your cheek in the dark. Each flake carries something. An image, a voice, a half-finished song. And as they land, they do not burden you. They lighten you. Each one saying, you are not alone. You never were. You open your eyes. The world has changed again. You stand in the center of a small town blanketed in snow so thick, it mutes even your breath. The buildings are crisp, pastel, charming, like a memory of winter before anyone ever left. Icicles hang from every eave, shimmering with inner light, and the windows glow warmly, though no movement comes from within. It feels like a dream a child might have dreamt on a night just before waking. You walk forward and see her, a little girl, no older than 6, standing barefoot in the snow. She's dressed in a woolen coat too large for her. Her hair is plaited, cheeks flushed pink, but not from cold, from something more vital, something that glows from within. She notices you, smiles. You try to speak, but she's already holding out her hand. You take it. Her hand is warm, not like skin, like candlelight. She doesn't speak. She simply turns and leads you down the snow-covered street, past frozen fountains, past lampposts where moths still circle despite the cold, past doors slightly ajar, as if each one waits for a soul to remember its way home. You glance at the girl again, and that's when you notice. Her chest glows faintly. Not bright, not dramatic, just enough to see the outline of something beneath her coat. A mirror, set into her chest like a window, not reflecting the world outside, reflecting you, but not your face, your soul. It flickers like an aurora, shifting hues as you walk beside her. Gold, blue, crimson, gray. She stops at the center of a square. Snow drifts slowly through the air, refusing to settle. In the center, a carousel, motionless, frosted over. She gestures for you to sit. You hesitate. She doesn't. She climbs aboard one of the horses, its mane sculpted with frozen ivy, and sits gracefully, as if she's done this 1,000 times in 100 different dreams. You follow, sit across from her, and the carousel begins to turn. Not with music, with memory. Each revolution peels back a layer of time. You see a kitchen with peeling wallpaper. You are young, standing on a stool, trying to reach the kettle. Someone laughs. Another turn. A train platform. You standing still as the train pulls away, waving too late. Another turn. A field in summer. You are in love, the kind that hurts gently. Another. A room with 4 walls but no floor. You falling, smiling as you fall. The carousel stops. The girl stands. She places her hand on her chest over the mirror, then steps forward and places her other hand on your chest, and something passes between you. A warmth that knows exactly where to go. And suddenly, you feel yourself remembered. Completely. The versions of you that felt too weak, too angry, too late, they're here now. Held, seen, reflected. In her mirror. In yours. Some esoteric traditions suggest that certain spirits, often children, carry the soul mirrors of others through the spirit lands. Mirrors not of vanity, but of truth. Not to show you what you look like, to show you what you are still becoming. The girl takes your hand again, leads you to a door on the edge of the square. It swings open with no resistance. And inside, a room with a single candle. A mirror stands before it. You walk in. She stays outside. You look into the mirror. But this time, there is only one image. You. Eyes open. Calm. Whole. Not perfect, but whole. You understand now. Not all afterlives are places. Some are processes. And not all guides speak. Some simply show. You turn. The girl is gone, but her footprints remain, glowing faintly in the snow. You follow them, step by step, until they fade into the air itself. You close your eyes. The mirror light still flickers behind your ribs, and the red thread pulses once more, guiding you to the next doorway, this one carved from feathers and frost. You step through, and a dove soars above you, wounded, but flying still. The air on the other side of the frost-feathered doorway is thinner, higher somehow. The sky here stretches wide and slow, like breath over water. You're standing at the edge of a great plain, quiet and gold, where the grass moves like a whisper passed hand to hand through centuries. And above it all, the dove. She soars, limping, Her wings catch the light unevenly, one trailing feathers like thoughts forgotten mid-sentence. And yet, she does not fall. She circles above you, then veers east, her path jagged like a story being rewritten as it's spoken aloud. You follow. The red thread hums gently, your steps guided more by rhythm than direction. Each pace a heartbeat, each breath a release. You pass shrines, dozens of them. Tiny things, simple wood or stone, each adorned with tokens. A button, a braid of hair, a torn ribbon, a spoon, a coin. No names, no dates, only offerings. Some traditions along the war-torn paths of Ukraine and southern Russia say that when no body is left to bury, the soul creates its own altar, a place it returns to, waiting for someone to pass by who will see it. You kneel at one. Place your hand upon the stone. It's warm. And it sings. Not out loud. Inside you. A tune so old, it doesn't remember being written. Only remembered. You rise, and the dove dips low overhead, almost brushing your shoulder. You turn, following again. She leads you up a low hill where the grass stops, and a worn path begins. Stones blackened and smooth. Each one carries a symbol carved deep into it. A tear, an eye, a hand, a flame, a feather. You recognize none of them, and all of them. At the top of the hill, the dove lands. She limps toward a small archway formed from two shattered swords driven into the ground and bent inward like clasped hands. Beyond it, a vast stretch of land covered in white flags. Not fabric, not surrender. Feathers, thousands of them. Some floating gently down, some already resting. Each feather twitches slightly in the wind as if trying to remember flight. You step into the field. It is silent. So silent you hear your own thoughts approaching before they fully form. In the distance, a shape. Small. Moving. You walk toward it and find a statue. But no ordinary one. It breathes. Made of clay and bird bone, stitched together with reeds and wire, its head bowed low. A dove's wing forms one arm, a human hand the other. At its base, a plaque, not carved, but scratched. The pilgrimage of the wounded dove. You sit beside it, and the dove who led you here lands quietly beside you. She tilts her head, looks at you, and you understand. She is not a guide. She is a memory. Your memory. The part of you that refused to let grief become silence. The part that kept moving. Some folklore says that doves carry not souls, but conscience. That after a war, they limp across the world collecting the fragments of regret too soft to become ghosts. You lay your hand upon her. She closes her eyes and begins to glow. Not brightly, softly, as if warming herself by something long buried. The clay statue beside you moves slightly. Its mouth opens and speaks your name. Once. Only once. And you feel yourself heard by the earth. By time. By whatever waits on the other side of all this remembering. The field begins to hum. Not music. Just presence. A resonance in the bones of everything around you. You rise, and the dove flies again. Higher this time, no longer limping. As she disappears into the sky, feathers begin to fall. Slowly, gently, each one a piece of someone's honesty let loose into the wind. You catch one. It dissolves in your palm and leaves behind a phrase, I chose not to hate you. The red thread pulses once more. You descend the hill. Behind you, the field glows faintly. You do not look back, because you don't need to. Somewhere far ahead, a tunnel of light begins to take shape. And beneath it, a whisper of prophecy. The tunnel isn't a structure. It's a ripple in the air, a parting of fabric that was never meant to be cloth. It wavers like heat over asphalt, but it's cool as moonlight. The red thread vibrates eagerly now, pulling you toward it with the soft insistence of fate remembering itself. You pass beneath an arch of twisted trees, roots reaching upward like hands in reverse. The leaves are ink black and soundless, but when you brush against them, they shimmer silver and fold away, whispering stories they've overheard from dying mouths. And then, as you enter the tunnel, a strange light wraps around you, not gold, not white, but candle-colored. Dim, steady, alive. You are in a metro station, but not underground. You don't know how you know, but you are beneath nothing. The walls are tiled in emeralds, cracked and gleaming. Benches wait with no passengers. No advertisements line the walls. Only murals. Long, looping frescoes of saints with blurred faces and wolves curled at their feet. Children carrying lanterns shaped like eggs. Soldiers sleeping under cherry trees. This is not Moscow. This is not Kiev. This is beneath them, beneath memory. You walk along the platform, and there, at the far end, a booth, lit from within. A desk covered in dust, and behind it, a man, elderly, ancient maybe, bearded, dressed in the robes of a priest, but his eyes are not warm. They are lit with something that flickers between knowledge and ache. He watches you enter, and he doesn't smile, but he does speak. You came down willingly, that's rare. His voice is like sand and velvet. You nod. He gestures to the bench beside him. You sit. Before you can speak, he reaches under the desk and places something between you. A stack of cards. Old, water-warped, edges singed. Not playing cards. Calling cards. You recognize them from stories, used in the days of the dead, when mediums and mystics hosted seances. Cards engraved with the names of spirits, set on the table so the living could invite the right ghosts to visit. He flips one. It says, Alexei, artillery. Another, Inna, disappeared. Another, Zhenya, civilian, not ready. He lays out 7 in total, and then slides them toward you. These are the ones who heard your footsteps before you arrived. You pick one up. The name is familiar, but not in memory, in feeling. You close your eyes, and the station trembles. When you open them, the priest is no longer across from you. He is beside you, and he's whispering, "Ask the one who remains." You look down. Only one card glows now. You flip it, it's blank. Then slowly, words appear. You. You look to the priest, and he nods. Some traditions believe that each soul must one day become its own oracle, not to predict the future, but to witness what it tried so hard to forget. The murals on the wall begin to shift. The saints lose their halos. The wolves speak. The sleeping soldiers open their eyes. And from the center of the platform, a staircase begins to spiral upward. Made of words, literal words, floating, glowing, hovering phrases, lines from your life. It's not your fault. We didn't know better. I forgive you even if you never say it. Come back inside, the soup's still warm. You can still choose peace. The staircase builds itself higher, one phrase at a time, and the priest looks at you, hand on your shoulder. You must climb. You hesitate. Will I return? He shrugs. You've never left. You rise. Step onto the first phrase. It holds. You ascend. Each word lights beneath your feet. The station below dims, and the thread around your finger begins to glow brighter than the light ahead. You climb slowly, reverently. Above, the roof opens, not into sky, into pages. Paper rustles, ink swirls. You are entering the story that wrote you. And at the center of that room, made entirely of books and breath and bone, a mirror. You are not afraid. You walk toward it. And in it, you do not see your face. You see every soul you've passed. The girl with the mirror heart. The babushka with candle eyes. The soldiers in the loop. The monk at the loom. The wolves, the doves, even the bartender, faceless and quiet. All of them, inside you, watching, waiting, forgiving. You press your hand to the mirror, and it becomes a door. The red thread pulses. It's ready to carry you into forgetting, or into remembrance. Some say the oracles beneath St. Petersburg whisper not prophecy, but permission. That no future is ever fixed, but every soul must choose whether it leads or follows. You step through, into light, into breath, into yourself. The light is warm, not blinding, not cold, just the kind that feels like early morning sun through an old curtain. It seeps into your skin like memory returning home. You are no longer walking, you are floating, gliding down into a chamber you didn't expect. A bunker. Not a place of violence, a place of waiting. The walls are lined with clocks, none ticking, not broken, just undecided. Each one set to a different time that never comes. This is the bunker of forgotten time. It sits at the edge of the Black Sea spirit line, they say, in a fold where hours are misplaced and soldiers arrive from battles that haven't ended or haven't even started. You land softly on the bunker's floor, which is tiled in maps. Not of nations, but of memories. Cities that once existed. Villages that were dreamed and then erased. Borders drawn in chalk. Erased by breath. Around you, figures move. Not ghosts, not shadows. People. Whole and present. Wearing uniforms from every era, Tsarist, Soviet, modern, fictional. Some wear medals. Others wear coats made from newspaper, stitched together with thread dyed in tea and time. None of them speak, but all of them listen. As if the air itself is telling them something only they can hear. You try to ask what they're waiting for, but your voice doesn't work here. Not silenced, translated. You speak, and your words become images. Memories from your own life flickering through the air like smoke trails. One shows you writing a letter you never sent. Another shows you lying in bed with the lights off, whispering a name you promised to forget. The soldiers watch these flickers and nod. Some traditions say that in bunkers like these, beneath the sea or beneath the psyche, time doesn't run. It pauses, so the soul can catch up with itself. You move through the bunker slowly, each hallway a different decade. Posters line the walls, propaganda, poetry, missing persons. You pass a bulletin board covered in pins, strings, and torn photographs. One photo is of you, wearing someone else's coat, beside someone whose face is blurred. Beneath it, a note, still waiting for him to remember who he was. You stop, feel the truth of it, because you were him, and you are still forgetting. A young man steps beside you. He has no rank, no nameplate, just a photograph in his hand. He offers it. It shows you and him, arms around each other, laughing, not from joy, from survival. The laughter of people who made it 1 hour further than they expected. You take the photo, it burns gently, not pain. Release. You understand. They're not stuck here. They're anchoring you, so you can move on. But not too fast, because remembrance must come slowly or it breaks the spirit. The hallway opens into a canteen. Long tables, metal trays, rows of mugs filled with steaming liquid that smells like cardamom and coal. You sit. The mug in front of you has your name carved into it. Not your current name, but one you once wore in a life lived entirely in another tongue. A woman across from you lifts her mug, nods, and speaks a toast in a dialect you can't identify, but you feel it. To those who paused time so we could learn how to live again. You drink. The liquid tastes like steam over river stones, like forgiveness, like someone waiting just long enough to see if you'd remember. Around you, the bunker begins to dim. The clocks fade. The maps curl in on themselves. The people stand, one by one, and vanish. Not dramatically, just as if they were never supposed to be remembered beyond this room. You stand. Only one figure remains. A child, sitting on the floor, drawing maps with crayons on the bunker tiles. You kneel. He looks up and hands you a page. It's a map of a place you've never seen, but you know the way, because it's made of the roads you never took. He smiles and vanishes. The drawing remains in your hand. The red thread pulses again, brighter. The air shifts. The bunker fades. And suddenly, you're not underground. You're above the clouds, standing on a bridge made of feathers and frost and laughter. And ahead, a village, glowing, alive, too alive because something is missing. Something is off. There's no sorrow, no pain, no echoes, just stillness. Perfect and terrifying. You walk toward it and read the sign carved into the first stone wall, the day no one died. The village welcomes you with open doors, but no voices. Everything is perfect, too perfect. The sky above is painted in the soft pastels of early evening, forever on the edge of twilight. A golden light spills from every window, but no curtains move. No footsteps echo. No whispers ride the air. You step onto the main street. The cobblestones beneath you are warm, clean, dustless. There are no weeds between them, no cracks, no smell of wood smoke. Just a faint scent of soap and honeysuckle, as if the entire place had been scrubbed by unseen hands just moments ago. You walk, and it begins to settle into your chest, that strangeness, that eerie softness of a world without contrast, without loss, without death. This is the day no one died. Some fringe traditions say that once in a generation, a spirit realm pauses the death process, not forever, just for one day, to let the souls catch their breath, to see what the world would be like if only for a moment. No one left, no one broke, no one fell. You turn a corner and see children playing, but they do not laugh. They do not shout. Their faces are serene, their movements exact, like actors repeating a scene for the 1,000th time. A ball bounces gently between them, never too fast, never missed, never dropped. You call out. They don't stop playing. But one child turns to look at you. She tilts her head, whispers, though her lips don't move. Today is the day we are not allowed to disappear. You feel it now, the rules. This place has rules. You can feel them in the stillness, in the way the wind refuses to move the tree branches. in the way every leaf is perfectly suspended in air, mid-fall, frozen like it's waiting for permission to land. You walk into a bakery. The bread is warm, but no one stands behind the counter. No bell rings. A loaf sits on the counter with a note. Take what you need, no more. You do. And it tastes like peace, which feels wrong. Not because peace is unkind, but because you haven't earned it yet. You leave the bakery, you pass a church. Inside, candles burn. But there is no smoke. You step in. A woman kneels at the altar. Her body is still, but her spirit is bright. So bright it flickers beyond the outline of her form. She turns to you, smiles faintly, and places a finger to her lips. Then points to the crucifix. But there's no Christ, just light, shaped vaguely like a man, the suggestion of sorrow. You kneel beside her, and for a moment you feel it. The stillness, the ache of nothing breaking, and the fear that something must. Because life is not a lullaby without end. You rise, and the woman fades. Outside you hear music, soft, mechanical. A music box tune drifting through the air like steam from a cup of tea. You follow it, and find a man winding a crank on a wooden cart. He's smiling, eyes closed. Tears fall from the corners of his eyes, but he keeps smiling. He sees you and says nothing, but his music speaks. It says, "This is mercy borrowed from somewhere else." You realize what this place is. It's not an escape. It's an intermission. A breath between pain. Some scholars have debated if such moments exist on the other side of war. That perhaps there are pauses in the soul's journey, places where time softens its grip and gives the spirit a chance to prepare for the next unraveling. You walk on. The village begins to shift, not fall apart, just blur. Edges soften, lines melt. The perfection begins to give way, and you hear a single bell, ringing high, clear. You follow it to the village square. Everyone is gathered there now, faces calm, eyes closed, holding hands. In the center, a clock. It has no hands, just a pendulum swinging slowly. Tick, tick. Then it stops. And a voice, not from any mouth, fills the space. The day is over, and the villagers, they begin to dissolve. Not tragically, not in pain, but like mist in morning light. One by one, they vanish, returning to wherever they were borrowed from. You stand alone. The red thread tugs once more. You turn and see a new path. This one winds through a field of tall grass, golden, breathing, and at the far edge, a house. Simple, wooden. You walk toward it, and as you do, the weight of the day lifts. Gently, lovingly, like a hand smoothing the creases of your soul. You arrive. No one greets you. But the door opens, and inside, only echoes live. The doorway doesn't creak, it sighs. You cross the threshold into a house that has no walls, no ceiling, and yet you are inside. You feel it. The shape of enclosure. The hush of a room that remembers every word ever whispered inside it. This is the house made of echoes. The floor is soft. Not wood, not stone. Woven. Made from strands of voices so fine they hum beneath your feet. You take a step, and the air murmurs. You're late. Another step. I kept the soup warm. A third. Don't forget your name. You pause. The house breathes around you. The walls are not visible, but they respond. Every time you move, they ripple, releasing faint whispers. Some in Russian, some in Ukrainian, others in languages you don't recognize, and one in your mother's voice saying, "You used to sing in your sleep." You close your eyes, and the house shows itself. Not with light, with feeling. You are standing in every room you've ever left, the kitchen you outgrew, the hallway where someone waited, the window where you once watched snowfall without knowing that someone had just died across the street. You walk through it, each step into another echo. A woman hums, a man prays. A child shouts your name, but no one appears, because this house is made not of people, but of what people leave behind. You reach the center of the house. A cradle sits in the middle of the floor, empty, rocking. Beside it, a pair of shoes, too small, worn. You kneel, and without knowing why, you begin to cry. The cradle rocks faster. The shoes vanish, and the air says, "She never made it home." Some stories in old borderland folklore speak of houses that outlive their families. Places where echoes gather until they gain form, where rooms become spirits, not the other way around. Some claim these houses appear in dreams to remind us that even absence has memory. You stand, the walls ripple again, and begin to speak together. A chorus of mothers, across centuries. We knew you before you knew yourself. We whispered you into the world. We waited while you fought. We never left. You fall to your knees, not from grief, from recognition. This is the house of all who have ever loved and lost and continue to sing lullabies to no one. You look up, and the ceiling, if it can be called that, opens, revealing stars, but not just any stars. Each one pulses with a voice. You listen, and hear. He died with my name in his mouth. She wore my scarf when the fire came. They forgave me after the border closed. Each voice is soft, none demand attention, but all want to be known. You rise, and the cradle is gone. The shoes are gone, but the warmth remains. The red thread pulses gently now. Almost shy, you turn toward the open wall. A new figure stands there, tall, cloaked in both light and shadow. No face, no form, just presence. You don't flinch, you nod, and the figure opens its hands, revealing a small orb of light, pulsing slowly like a sleeping heartbeat. Inside it, a face. Yours, but softened, unburdened, forgiven. They hand it to you. You take it, and it sinks into your chest, where the echoes have settled, where the lullabies still hum, where the cradle always rocks. The figure bows and disappears. The house behind you melts into mist, and before you the horizon opens. A canyon of light and darkness split down the center. You step toward it, not as a guest, as someone returning, because on the other side of that glowing divide is the place where even enemies dissolve, where the war ends, not in fire, but in reunion. The canyon stretches before you, with silent, luminous at its edges, as if cut not through earth, but through memory. Light spills down one side, shadow coils up the other, and in the middle, a glow. Not bright, not burning, just steady, soft. You walk toward it. The red thread around your finger pulses for the final time, then dissolves, its work complete. Where it once tied you to the past, now there is only a warmth in your palm, like the residue of a hand once held too tightly. At the rim of the canyon, there is no bridge, no rope, just a narrow strip of earth winding down into the glow below, like a thread drawn from the center of the soul. You descend. The path curves gently, each step sinking into mist that curls up around your ankles, brushing your skin with fingers made of breath and memory. The air is neither warm nor cold, but equal, a perfect stillness that does not erase you, but receives you. At the bottom, the light hums, and in its center, a circle, not of stone, not of fire, of people, spirits, souls. They stand facing inward, hands clasped, not in prayer, not in defense, but in recognition. You see them clearly. Some wear military coats, some shawls, some plain cotton shirts stained with old tears. Some carry lanterns, some carry nothing, but all of them carry you. Because here, at the center of it all, where violence has evaporated into its final silence, you see what war has been hiding from you all along, the faces of those you thought were your enemies. And they are smiling, not in triumph, in relief. A woman you once feared steps forward. She is older than time, yet familiar as breath. She opens her hands, and in her palms, seeds. Small, silver, pulsing faintly with their own inner light. She offers them to you. You take them without speaking, and kneel. You press them into the earth. They do not grow, not here, but you know now, they will. Somewhere else, sometime else, because war, like winter, is not the end. It is the deep inhale before the bloom. You stand. The circle of souls begins to sing. No words, just tone. One long note, passed from heart to heart like fire in dry grass. The light responds. It rises, not up but out, illuminating the canyon, the sky above, the soil beneath, revealing all the hidden things, the faces never named, the goodbyes never spoken, the apologies choked in blood, the forgiveness buried so deep even the soul forgot it had the right to offer it. And then, the light parts, revealing the divide no longer as a wound, but as a gate. Not one you walk through, one you become. And in this final moment, you understand. You are not here to remember war. You are here to transform it. Some traditions say the greatest power of the Spirit is not to conquer darkness, but to carry light through it unburned. You breathe. You close your eyes. And when you open them again, there is no canyon, only a field, wide, quiet, bathed in morning. A single tree sways in the breeze, its branches full of bells. You walk to it. Hang your memory there. It rings, softly. And somewhere, far away, someone wakes in tears. Not of sadness, of something deeper, something closer to returning. And now, there is only one thing left, to rest, to let this final breath carry you to wherever your name is whispered next. The field grows quieter. The sky softens into a deep lavender, stars folding open like slow blooming flowers. You sit beneath the tree of bells and listen. No more voices, no more footsteps, just the wind weaving through branches like a lullaby meant for those who once forgot how to sleep. You lean back. Let the earth cradle you. It is warm, alive. Not in the way blood is alive, but in the way memory is. A breath between lives. You close your eyes, and the last sounds of the journey begin to slip away. The hum of the river, the chant of the monks, the bells of Mariupol, the laughter of children in snow. Even the red thread, long since dissolved, leaves only a phantom weight on your hand. And yet, it is enough. You are enough. Not because you finished the walk, but because you chose to take it. The soul doesn't need answers, only room to echo, to wander, to return, and so here, in this final hush, you rest, not in silence, in completion. A light flickers far away, maybe a candle, maybe another dreamer beginning their own path. You smile, let go, and the bells ring once more, low, kind,